Yeah. It's 4 hours. Around Central? Yep. So this is from here. Okay. Okay. I know. Go Canadian to order. Christie, if you would give an invocation for us.
Sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening and this time. Father, we ask you to give us wisdom and knowledge and discernment through this. And Father, just be with us and guide us through everything that we do. And may it glorify you in your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
You join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you do a roll call for us.
Lee.
Here.
Renee. Here. Tracy. Here. Carrie.
Here.
Nola. Absent. Christie.
Here.
Jeffrey.
Here. So, important this ritual. Yeah. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. If I have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support? Support by Lee, any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the approval of the past meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the past meeting.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support?
Support.
Support by Renee, any discussion among the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the treasurer's report. If anyone on the board have any questions about the treasurer's report? No comments. Put that on file. Next, we have the bills. Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
I make a motion to pay bills.
Motion by Renee, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Carrie.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Christie.
Yes.
Tracy. Yes. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the fire department report, if you would, chief.
Not sure why, Mr. Supervisor, but you have last month's in there, not this month's.
I apologize.
So the data you have is incorrect. Give me 2 seconds. I will be ready for you. It's fine. I can tell you the only thing I have on there besides the actual data is that I did recently receive 5 applications for paid on call. They have passed their background checks, and I do have them going forward into the physical phase. We did contact the doctor, and they're going to start to begin to try to schedule them for approval. Once that happens, at that point, then I will come back and ask for conditional hire once they pass the backgrounds. And then I can forward this if you'd like, sure, to the correct ones. You can find me through email. 59 calls for service. Again, obviously, there still is that slight decrease because of the pro QA, the way the dispatch center is doing it. And nothing to do about that, but call line still happens. And yeah, we ran 3 calls over the weekend, but we ran 3 calls today. So I mean, there's still no rhyme or reason why or what. Other than that, we're still within our standard of operation. We have not heard anything else on the remainder. We are going to renew a countywide CAD program and a computer dispatching program for our responders. That'll probably be about 8 months out, but there will be no cost to the jurisdiction as the surcharge that was passed for 911, we'll be able to cover that over cost. So it's going to be a little easier for us. It's a much better program than we're currently using. Again, the 5 that I've hired, 2 of them do come to us partially trained. So that will save a little bit of money. The remainders, if they all do pass their background, would then have to go through the MFR and the fire academy, which won't be until the fall. I would come back, but I already had that money budgeted to hire those 2. So other than that, we have nothing else to report.
Excellent, thank you.
Would you forward that to me, please?
Yes.
Next, we have the planning commission report, if you would please.
Not April, well, I missed the meeting, but as anybody can, you can watch it on YouTube. I got the report from there. First thing on the agenda was a public hearing for zoning change 23-02 for 898 West McMillan Road, rezone from R1 to C2. Owner described the proposed use and why they're looking for a zoning change. Multiple comments and questions from neighbors concerned about what could be done on the property. After commission discussion, motion approved for board review, which is on our agenda later. The second thing was a site plan review 23-04 for Holton Road. With an addition at F and Bar for his pavilion. I think it was already in a previous meeting. He's just continuing the project, and that motion was approved. Last item on there was a draft ordinance 23-08, temporary special use permits, special events, venues, and enforcement process. So there's multiple things in this draft ordinance. We just looked at changes that the commission has been discussing and further discussion to iron out any kinks. Motion approved for public hearing next month.
Thank you. Next, we have our maintenance and grounds report, and I think we're gonna have a lot of public comments. If you could, Nate, set a good example to come up to the lectern. Appreciate it.
Name, address, information, Portage Depends.
It's a pretty normal-ish month. Had one new employee decide not to work for us anymore, so we have a couple new ones. Both have been great with the election. That was a big test for them, and they had no problems with that. But it's spring finally, so we've been cutting like crazy, doing what we gotta do. Fixing driveways and stuff, people that were on that list of the seniors that needed their driveways fixed. We made sure we got the only couple that needed it, we got them done. They were very grateful, which was cool. But yeah, just the normal spring stuff. Sitting our butts in some mowers, but we're gonna build about a dozen picnic tables, and we're gonna disperse them around the township. So today we dropped one off at Duff. You can see how it does. It's locked up, so we'll see if it's there overnight.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah. Next, we have our first public comment section. And so just from looking at who's here and who's probably gonna comment on what, we've got 3 different sets, right? So one is gonna be Central Road. I'm expecting probably a couple of people to comment on Central Road. The night is the hearing. It's the second hearing, 4th resolution, bond resolution. So because it's a hearing, if you're commenting on Central Road, you can wait until we come to that item for the hearing and comment then. All right? If you're commenting on something that's not specifically on the agenda, just complaints about the township or an ongoing issue that we're not explicitly addressing tonight, then keep that for the second public comment so that it can be a little bit more of a discussion and we're through our business items at that point. And then if there's anything else that you're commenting on that's on the agenda, go ahead and do that now. Up to 3 minutes. Please come up to the lectern, let us know who you are, and let us know what you think.
We can also do comments.
Compliments are fine. Unrealistic. All right, anything on the agenda that anyone wants to comment on other than Central?
Oh, it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Second public comment.
Yeah,
Yep.
got it.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to the decision items then. The first one are inspector contracts. So we have a building inspector, an electrical inspector, mechanical, and plumbing inspector. The only change here and the reason for the change is for processing of compensation. Before we had a split for the opening and the closing of inspections. This makes it easier to process the payments essentially by just doing it during the opening and then generating reports to follow up on the finalizing And so the only thing that's changed in all three of these is the compensation part.
I make a motion to approve the inspector contracts as proposed.
Motion by Carrie, do we have a support? Support. Support by Tracy. Any comment from the board? Hearing none, we'll roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Lee.
Yeah.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Christie, Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have resolution 2023-22 for Love Inc. grants. And so Love Inc. is an organization in the area. They get donations and they do volunteer work. They specifically have a ramp project, people getting in and out of their homes. They had maybe a couple, maybe one in the township, something like that, that goes in a year. They had inquired about me waiving the building permit fee, but I didn't want to just do that off the cuff of when I decided to waive fees for people or organizations. And I'd rather have something in place that the township board has decided to do one way or the other. So I told them that I would write up a resolution to that effect and put it on the agenda. And so that's what we are looking at here.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-22 to waive ramp building permit fees for Love Inc. projects.
Second.
All right, motion by Carrie, support by Renee. Any other discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Christie. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have zoning ordinance 2023-05 for ponds, mining, excavations, and site plans. And so these are changes in the zoning ordinance that the planning commission has been going through, looking over. This section really started because there was a pond project that Steve and I had looked at and approved, and it ended up being very large ponds and a large amount of sand, and it was causing some damage to a road. And so we wanted to review what our sand mining versus pond excavating ordinance looked like. The planning commission went through this. There's a number of steps that they go through, including the hearing, and they have approved it to get to this point for the board.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-05 for pond, sand mining, excavations, and site plan review.
Motion by Carrie, do we have support? Support by Lee. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Christie, Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have Township Hall construction quote. And we looked at this in the budget and we put $200,000 on that line item. I was hoping that the roof and the AC units on top would come in about $100,000. And they were able to get it to about $100,000. But that's for putting another layer over the entire roof. Now, we've had a bunch of issues with that, and part of the issue is that they've been putting layers on for a long time. So I told them to go back and look at doing a complete tear off and a replacement, which adds $19,580, so about 20 grand. Could be approved either way. The reason I want it approved before the site, which I have an architect working on the remodel designs for inside, but the AC units are going to take about 2 months to come in once they're put on order, and they're not going to put them on order until they have a signed contract. So I wanted to bring it now. And then I am hesitant. That's why I wrote up the suggestion for the motion of doing another layover. I'd rather spend the money, have it set for decades in the future that they know they're not going to have a leaking roof.
I make a motion to approve the roof and HVAC proposal for DL Morris, including the additional costs to complete a redo on the roof.
I'll support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Christine. Any discussion on the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee, Tracy, yes. Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have accessory dwelling units. We had this as a discussion item last month. All this is doing is moving it to the planning commission to start their process, which goes over several stages, including a hearing before coming back to the board to be approved.
I make a motion to have the planning commission begin the process of making an ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units.
Second.
Motion by Carrie, support by Tracy. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have fireworks. And so I know fireworks are being worked on, and all the township gets, as far as that is concerned, is proof of licensure for the organization that's doing it, the company through the state, and proof of insurance. And I could, work on getting those, or wait to get those and then approve that in June, but I also would like to not leave it to the last minute. I'd rather have it approved. Everyone supports the fireworks, I think. And so the way I wrote this up is just that when we receive those, they'll already be approved.
I make a motion to approve the 4th of July fireworks display at Twin Lake upon receipt of proof of license and insurance.
Support.
Motion by Renee, support by Carrie. Any discussion among the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have land bid opening. So this is 2 small pieces by Calumet and Forest Park, Poppy Way, that area. I do have 1 sealed bid that came in. The minimum that we put on this for both of them together is $800. And the bid is for $805.
The motion to accept the bid, parcel under consideration, Calumet and Forest Park for $805.
Motion by Carrie, support by Lee. Any discussion among the board? If none, roll call vote.
Yes.
Lee? Yes. Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Christie?
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Jeffrey?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have office hours. So, and this is something I've thought about before, and I know a decent number of municipalities are doing, some of the parts of the county, some other local municipalities, of changing to longer hours Monday through Thursday and being closed on Friday. And I think it's a decent proposal. So as we are now, we're 9 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Obviously, if you work those hours, you can't make it here. This proposal is for Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5:30. I know some places, Muskegon Charter directly next to us, has extended it longer by having the employees take an unpaid lunch in the middle, but obviously I don't think the employees would like that very much. So I think this is reasonable. The June 5th start to it, I think it might be reasonable to put this off or even approve it 1 month further out. So we have the 1 admin assistant that she has some after hours stuff with her kid that she makes it to. And so if we put it off for 1 month, she'll at least be through that season. Maybe next season, she can move the hours out a little bit, but
Could we accommodate and have her, whatever hours? There's plenty for her to do to come in on a Friday with no, keep the doors locked or closed, but she has a lot that she could get caught up on, work on projects.
That makes more sense.
good.
And I think that could be for anybody, that has a week that they,
Leave early.
have to leave early on a day.
Friday was closed to take care of business.
Get a lot more done too. when you all bring it.
Yeah, I mean, it can work.
I find that when they're coming in to pay taxes and no one's here, and we do have a drop box, but some of them like to see that stamp on that paper, so.
I'll make a motion to change the hall hours of operation Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., close on Friday, starting Monday. So what? June 5th, want to go with June 5th, 2023?
Yeah.
Okay. June 5th, 2023.
I'll support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Christie. Any other discussion among the board? All right, roll call vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have ordinance 2023-07 for rezoning. And so this is a property that's looking at being turned into a wedding events facility. We went through the hearing and everything at the planning commission. There was a little debate on it. A few people from the public had commented about it causing more traffic, essentially. I think was the primary issue, the primary concern. Thing is, and it was brought up in the planning commission, that if it was developed as residential as it sits, depending on how it's developed, it could cause a lot more traffic as well. And so, not sure that is a great objection to it, but that was most of the concern.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-07 for rezoning.
I will support.
Motion by Carrie, support by Kristen. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Gary,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Lee.
Yeah.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Stephanie.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have hearing and resolution 2023-20 for the central paving project. And so this is the second hearing, fourth resolution. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up, everyone that's involved in Central knows what's going on, right? We've been through it for a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the public comment portion of this hearing. If you would like to speak on it in favor or against Central, then you are welcome to come up to the lectern, let us know who you are, and let us know what you think. Yeah, come on up.
I have, actually I have two formal objections. But, so,
The two separate ones you'd written up before? Okay.
no, different objections.
Oh, like two different arguments.
Yeah, okay, so I'm Jeffrey McKee. I own parcel 61-07-020-200-0006-00. This year and in previous meetings pertaining to the Central Road Special Assessment, Dalton Township told the public that if they have any objections to the road assessment, they could either object in person at the public meeting or in writing via email or dropping the objection off to the township office before the special road assessment meeting. On April 12th, 2023, Dalton Township notified myself and other residents by mail that there was another meeting pertaining to the special road assessment that will take place today. The language used in this notice was changed to take further notice that any owner or a party of interest in a lot or parcel of land subject to the special assessment may file a written appeal or special assessment with the Michigan Tax Tribunal within 30 days after the date of the confirmation of the special assessment roll, but only if said owner or property in interest appears and protests the special assessment at this hearing. Nobody else has a voice. Everything changed. We were able to come in here and drop off an objection to you. I didn't want to come here today because you said I already had objections, but then I got this thing in the mail. And it says that nobody's voice is going to be heard unless they're at this meeting. The requirements for protesting the road assessment to the state of Michigan has changed halfway through the process. This is the first time where we were required to be at the meeting in person to object. Previously, we were told by the board that we were able to object before the meeting. In a previous mailer, we were told that all that would be required was to object in writing. There weren't any contingencies such as physically being at a public meeting. This can disenfranchise some of the people affected. Not only does this add to confusion by changing the rules mid-game, but because of the language in the mail from Dalton Township in April 2023, they may not have their voices heard for reasons that are not limited to some people work second shift and have previous engagements. Some people cannot leave their homes because of medical reasons. Some people have previously objected to this assessment while being told by the board that their objection is sufficient, only to find out on a later date that the rules changed. I can't find a precedence anywhere in the state of Michigan where an objection is not good unless you're at the meeting. Every township and municipality in the state of Michigan allows objections before the meeting, through email, through mail. Not here though, and it all changed because this is different now. Okay, my other objection. The property that I own is on the east side of Central Road. It is pie-shaped. It butts up to the highway on one side. There's an easement for T3 power lines that cut through the whole length of the property. T3s are the largest power lines and power line easements used in the state of Michigan. On the opposite side of my property is a strip of trees where the property adjoins to Central Road. I bought this property December of 2011 for the sale price of $2,000, plus paying the delinquent property taxes to current, which brought the sale price to $2,890. The property was up for sale for over a year. My offer was the best offer. In 2012, Dalton Township believed that the total cash value of the property in question was $6,000. I appealed it to the state of Michigan on July 24th, 2012. The state of Michigan ruled that the true cash value of the property was
what I paid for it, $2,890. Under the State of Michigan Public Improvement Act of 1954, it states in a special assessment pertaining to property owners, there must be a benefit to the owner's property in question that equals or exceeds the amount the landowner is asked to pay. So basically, if my property goes up $1,000, the state of Michigan will come in and say, you can pay $1,000. If it goes up $4,000, up until we hit that price. In 1986, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled and later affirmed in subsequent rulings that the only justification for a special assessment levy is an increase in the property market value, meaning that a benefit only means an increase in property valuation, nothing more. So like, we can't say, well, you get a benefit because you can drive down that road. You know, I don't even live on the road. I never use the road.
You signed the petition.
Sign the petition. I did sign the petition because we didn't know how it was going to get paid for. That's why I signed it. I had no idea because I didn't know if the petition is going to the state of Michigan, the road commission. Are they going to chip in? Are they going to pay anything? And come to find out, no one's paying a dime. I totally object to that. If the property doesn't go up in monetary value, by law, the property owner cannot be included in the special assessment. That's state of Michigan law. When I had received the first hearing notice for this assessment, I called Dalton Township's tax assessor, Jonathan Sykes, and left a message to him to call me back. On February 8th, 2023 at 2:55 p.m., Jonathan Sykes had returned my phone call. I asked him what method that he as a tax assessor would use to factor in the change in valuation from a dirt road to a paved road pertaining to the property in question. Jonathan said he was new on the job, so he was unsure about the property in question. He asked if he could call a previous tax assessor to inquire. On the same day at 4:48 p.m., Jonathan called me back from the phone number 231-724-6634. He said that after talking with a previous tax assessor, he's now familiar with the property, and the property that I own on Center Road will neither increase nor decrease in valuation from Center Road being paved. So according to Jonathan Sykes, I shouldn't even be a party to this. I think we all know that, right? You talked about it in a previous meeting. So what we have is an inexpensive piece of property that, according to tax assessor Jonathan Sykes, a paved road would not add any value to. Because it adds no value, the state of Michigan law excludes this property from being a part of the special assessment. At the meeting pertaining to this assessment in February 2023, Dalton Township Supervisor Jeffrey Martin told us in the meeting that after talking with Dalton Township's attorney that he's familiar with the law pertaining to the property being excluded from the assessment. And I believe your exact words were, but there's a few caveats. I think that's what you said afterwards. I'm not sure though.
I have no idea, but I'm sure in law, there's a lot of caveats.
Yeah. Unless we're dealing with something so basic like this. Jeffrey Martin openly talked to the citizens and the board about the law pertaining to special assessments. I now believe that Dalton Township and its citizens are now familiar with the law pertaining to special assessments that excludes the property in question from being a part of the assessment. I'm asking Dalton Township to do the right thing and remove me from the assessment that the state of Michigan law shows I am not legally party to. If this doesn't happen, not only will I be responsible for paying $100 and spending a day appealing Dalton's decision to the state of Michigan, but I also believe that Dalton Township understands the financial gravity that this would take on Dalton Township citizens, as once the state of Michigan decides in this case, the amount of $9,250 plus interest would be socialized to the great citizens of Dalton Township, to which would receive little to no benefit at all from the said road project. Is it fair to make them pay for it? I mean, when we go to the state of Michigan and the state of Michigan says, no, you don't have to pay anything for it because it's not going up in value. Is it really fair to stick the bill to that? Wouldn't they rather have it for parks or something? Michigan state law excludes my property from being party to the special assessment. I'm asking Dalton Township to recognize Michigan state law and exclude the said property from this project, as Michigan state law requires. I'm also asking Dalton Township to not make a final decision on this project and correct the error of not allowing objections to be included for this assessment in order to not only protect Dalton Township from future litigation, but to allow all voices to be heard before making a final decision as the law requires. That's it. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. You want to say about $2,800, This would be on the side of your Michael Bennett, Central Road. Just as clarification, well, I'm just gonna tell you what I read. I read the same letter and I read it twice because I wanted to understand it. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I read the letter, it was strongly worded and it did encourage you to come to the meeting. But I believe at the bottom of that, it did also say that you can come in person and drop off a disagreement.
I've got it right here if anybody needs to read it.
I've got mine.
Anyway, that's what I read out of that. I'm for it. I don't have $9,250 just sitting around, so it's gonna be a difficulty, but I think we're still at 80% that are not against it, so we're 20% against and 80% that have either not said anything or are for it, so I'm on that 80% side. So thank you.
I'm Travis Haynes and live at 4053 Central. I don't want to use my disabled children as like leverage, but if it doesn't get paved, it makes it difficult for the bus to come down the road when springtime or frost levels, which then in turns makes us have to load wheelchairs, all of our children up, go down to another bus stop or bring them to school because we can't go to the end of the driveway and do our drop offs because the bus won't go down the driveway. So I'm for the pavement for the fact that having 3 disabled children and try to get them ready for school and run a business is very difficult if you have to leave the premises because the bus won't go down the road. So I guess that's all I have to say on my part. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's still you got right here, that nobody can.
Anyone else on Central? Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, last chance, last public comment.
You heard me before, okay? Central Road, everybody knows me now. Yeah, I'm just saying we got 80%. We've had 80% for a long time now. This is like the third or fourth goal, so. And Travis is right. The bus has refused to go down the road. We know that too. We brought that to our attention. And as far as the objections, I'm not a realtor. I don't know anything about it. I'd say let the tax tribunal sort it out, but that's you guys' decision.
I have to pay for 2 different parcels already because I own 2 houses right next to each other and I'm still for it because it's going to be very beneficial.
Yeah, all right. So
One that if it goes to the state of Michigan, though, the state of Michigan will side with me. And when they do, Dalton Township's responsible to pay for it. Is it in Dalton Township's best interest to stick the taxpayers with the bill?
is there any other public comment on the road? No? All right. I'll close the public comment. All right, a couple of supports, won't say anything on. I appreciate people saying for the sports, normally we just do objections and stuff. I will just address a couple of the stuff for McKee. So the way the tax assessors mark a paved or non-paved road doesn't affect the financial value correctly. Now, over time, if you sell off that property and it goes up, those comparables drive up the price in the area. So it indirectly affects it. But when he clicks it on the form, it doesn't do anything to it. You mentioned that no one is contributing anything. The road commission is contributing 25%. So they decide in those things. If there's a major road, 120, an MDOT road or Whitehall, something like that, then a lot of times that is 100% picked up by not township funds or any local funds at all. If you have a more major road, sometimes they'll fully pick those up. A lot of times they'll split them 50-50. If it's a decent paved road. As you get more local, they contribute less, and that's the road commission's decision. And so for a decently local road like this, a lot of times they'll contribute 25%. So that's what they determined in this case. And then, as far as the written appeals go, I completely agree. I think the key is the written appeal from what I've heard about the tax tribunal. Because if you have that form that you've turned in, letter that you've turned into the township, you can take it to them and say, I turned this into the township, here it is. If you just make a verbal appeal, then I think that doesn't hold up as well. But obviously that's the tax tribunal's business and decision for their process. But if there is a disagreement over if an objection is legitimate or not, the four people that have turned in written objections, I would make the case. I'll, write something. I don't have a lawyer's opinion on that, but I'll write something that says, if it comes up, that they should at least be allowed to go to the tax tribunal for the tax tribunal to make that decision. Because as far as my understanding goes, that is the appropriate and proper process. All right.
Yeah,
So-
I have one question about it. Why was the verbiage in the letter stated that way? Why the change?
I'm sure, have the lawyer write it up.
Right. It's,
I mean, because to say that the other and said before doesn't count, and all of a sudden you have to hear. I mean, that's why I sound like that's fine to me. That's fine. That's kind of aggressive. Why would you change it like that midstream? We're trying to get this done, and for them to change the verbiage like that sounds very aggressive.
Harry, that it doesn't say that. I mean, that's read it if you want to read it.
Yeah, let me see that, please. I don't have that. So
Well, here, I'll read it off. Okay.
There you go.
That way everyone. So this is, I'll just read the last paragraph, and we can catch the overall context, right? So take further notice that an owner or a party in interest in a lot or parcel of land subject to a special assessment may file a written appeal of the special assessment with the Michigan Tax Tribunal within 30 days after the date of confirmation of the special assessment roll, but only if said owner or party in interest appears and protests the special assessment at this hearing. An appearance may be made by an owner or party in interest or his or her agent in person, or in the alternative, an appearance or protest can be filed with the township by letter prior to the hearing, in which case a personal appearance at the hearing is not required.
That, are we talking about to the state of Michigan or are we talking about to Dalton Township?
That's to here.
that's to hear Dalton Township.
The tax tribunal process, obviously, you probably know better than me, but it's a little different. So, but it is important that we get those in, and we had 4 of them. So whoever wants to go through that process, can. That's why that process is in place.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-20 for Central Road paving project.
Motion by Carrie,
support.
support by Tracy. Any discussion among the board? All right, so I appreciate it. I know it ends up being my decision at first on whether I'm gonna put the original petition that is collected onto the schedule. And then it sets us on this path that we all know is rough, and I let everyone know is going to be rough. I also, if you have a decent amount of support, I don't want to be the person standing in the way of paving roads, since we don't have the budget to just do it as far as the township is concerned without cutting all maintenance on all other local roads, which I certainly don't want to do. So essentially, I appreciate everyone going through the various pain and suffering. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Harry,
Yes.
Tracy, yes. Christie,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Renee,
Just like I stated, when the Michelinda Road project went through, you're not representatives for ourselves, you're representatives for the people. Therefore, I am going to vote no, because I do want those that have voted no to be and feel like their voices have been heard.
Yes. Motion passes.
So we'll get it in the mail. We just like file online, right? In about a week.
Yep, you'll get the notice in the mail. Yep. And then file it.
See it, see it. Thanks.
Next, we have resolution 2023-21 for the central project bond. Right, so this only applies if the previous one passed, which it did, and this is a decent size as well. This bond essentially has to do with us paying the bank for the loan that we're taking out. But obviously that interest also gets passed through to the people paying for it. It's defined. So
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-21 for Central Road paving project bond.
by carries, followed by Christie. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Harry,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes, ma'am.
Lee. Tracy, yes. Jeffrey,
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have our only discussion item, and this is about a deputy supervisor. So I had written an article a while ago, a few months ago now. If you guys could talk as far as sidebar goes, either after the meeting Yeah, if you could just talk sidebar after the meeting, whatever, maybe. So otherwise it just distracts people and ends up weird on the video audio as well. And so I'd written saying I'm not running for office, and because of that, I won't be competing with anyone. We don't have to campaign against each other. And for that reason, I know the job is oddly complex for a relatively small budget because there's all these different departments, there's appeals to all these other organizations, these various boards I sit on, those types of things. And so if anyone wants to know about that at all, they could certainly come in and I'll talk to them about it. If they want to get comfortable with the job, haven't gotten any interest off that. And so you can end up with a continuity problem going forward. Tracy brought up that it might be a good idea to have a deputy supervisor. There are basically two ways that I can see that being potentially useful. One is if you have a deputy supervisor step into the role, full-time, part-time, even would work out fine for someone learning the role, that wanted to then run for supervisor in the next election. Now, that would only work really well if they're running for that, and then you're not sure they're going to win either, right? So there's that issue. The other way would be that if you have a deputy supervisor that is pretty good in the role, someone new is elected supervisor, then that person already knows a lot of the stuff moving forward for any questions, and they can help bridge that gap, essentially, in knowledge of the main role switching out. So those are the two ways that I see that can be useful. I'm not sure if for that specific strategy, if it would be actually desirable or viable, if it would actually work. So, but discussion and thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns.
What other positions currently, right now, do we have a? Yeah. Treasurer and clerk, so both major paid positions here. So I can understand too why it can be beneficial for the township to have a secondary person, especially to bridge that gap. I see the positives of that. The negatives obviously are the money. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. So the pay for that person, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it would be reasonable, so kind of like you were saying, the deputies also serve as admin assistants. And so you could do something like that. You can incorporate something like having the deputy supervisor do more of the admin stuff, moving the deputy clerk to focusing more on elections, since elections keep getting more complex and clunky. And that will continue. And so you could have something like that in accordance with other admin assistants.
Also with the deputy supervisor position, that for the purpose of running for the next election or to be like continuation, let's say you hire a person as a deputy supervisor and they decide not to run, would they keep that position or would they be?
That would be up to the supervisor as far as the deputy part is concerned. So for the deputy treasurer and the deputy clerk, they are what set in charge of who they appoint as a deputy, right? The board has no function, I have no function in that role. So, but that's also why we hire admin assistants, to pay them primarily as admin assistants, so that they can't just be dismissed by the role, by like one disagreement there. It takes a little more in the executive committee at least.
Right.
And so you could have something like that. I think you could treat it either way. But I mean, it's hard to gauge, and it's hard for people to know what even their own decision is going to be moving forward. Depending on how far out you are.
Yeah, like I said, even if the chances are if they're not elected, then they're stuck as, I'm just saying, it's one of those things that just can happen.
Right.
Let's just throwing ideas out there, trying to, because.
Right, we need continuity, because I remember when we first started as trustees, we didn't know what was going on. It takes a little while to figure out what your role is and understand the rules that goes along with it and how the process. Understanding that as a supervisor, it's 10 times even more than what we've got to go through. So it's a lot more to learn, a lot more, because you went through a lot of classes that first year. You taught a lot. I don't know where you went, but I think you were part of that too.
I did. I mean, at that time, COVID was heavy, so I did most of my stuff online.
Still, there's a lot of time studying, a lot of time learning. The job is not something you just drop into. Okay, I'm ready to go.
When I brought up the deputy supervisor position when we first came into the roles, right? My idea was was that if a person was gonna be added, for me to move at speed in making changes, making reforms. Right? And so, I mean, now, fading off on big reforms, big changes, because it doesn't make sense for me to push those up to the end and have a bunch of moving parts while in transition now. So you have to do a ton of training, get a ton of stuff moving and started at the beginning, and then try to complete some things by the end. And so, but as far as that goes, I wouldn't add someone and then like launch a bunch of new stuff, because I don't think that would make sense. Although I think that would probably make the most sense for doing something like that role, but it only apply at the beginning. And then you don't want to push the system so fast and hard that you break a bunch of things and cause an extreme level of uncertainty. And so I've tried to walk that line, which is part of why I didn't add the deputy supervisor. I thought I was pushing changes fast enough on my own.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have something in place. Good idea. We show we can training our replacements.
Yeah, as we get closer, we can. My concern is nobody's gonna. Run for.
Well, but if no one runs,
You had no,
if no one runs at all, the board appoints someone after the election. So we won't end up without it, and someone will run.
Yeah.
I would take that bet.
Someone.
Again.
We have 9,427 people. You only need one person to be like,
I'll get away.
be your naysayer, guys. That's right. So you get someone like that. I don't. That's correct.
It can be.
Any other comments from the board?
Thoughts on cost?
end up.
So
And you could run it,
Benefits and things, but.
yeah, so you could run it and be high 30s, 37 per year, something like that, if you did like 17 per hour. Somewhere in there.
I totally disagree, just out there, not a fan,
Just not adding it at all.
adding it at all, no.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, it's debate. We won't go into that here, but I should have crushed the changes harder in the beginning. It would have been a mess, but not any messier than it's been, so,
It's good.
yeah. Would have been like a different type of train wreck.
this would be Claudio. And that was-
All right, good. We're on to our second public comment. If anyone would like to come up on anything.
As some of you know, I'm Deb Covington. I live on Putnam Road, north of Riley Thompson, 5712. And I'm here for a couple things. First thing is, what did you find out on that eviction notice for Ricky Hobby? Did you get a chance to call the police?
Before order. So I messaged the state police again. I mean, I talked to them before. And they said, it's such a threatening situation. They think it is that the sheriffs, I'd reached out to the sheriffs originally. The sheriffs didn't want to roll on it. Right? They wanted the state to move on it. And then the state said they won't move on something that's ordinance based. I followed up after our phone call, like I said it would. I sent out the emails. The guy that I sent it to is just a Michigan State Police contact that I had. He said, I have no idea why you're sending this to me. But he sent it to the Operations Center in Grand Rapids, and they sent it to the Operations Center in Lansing. So it is currently being reviewed by the Michigan State Police Operations Center in Lansing.
Because, if everyone's afraid to go out there and get Ricky Hobby because he's threatened everybody with a gun, threatened everybody to kill, even me and my husband, my whole family. Anyhow, and he just lived next door to us in the woods and squatting in a residential zoning area I have, What is my property value? It's going down, I'm sure. If someone knew that that's what we got out there living and you guys all allowed it, okay, now my property value is going down.
You can make an appeal to the board review about property value on it.
I don't care about that. I'm just telling you.
That's the issue.
that's-
Bring it up.
No, well, yeah, okay, I got a lot of issues, but I'm not gonna go there, all that. But then, he's a threat to me too, living out there. But no one cares to worry about our safety out there in the woods. What is your plan for the record as the board? What is your plan on doing about this instance? About this, you got a court order to evict him. What is the problem? Ain't there a SWAT team around here or something that's not afraid to go
That's
in
the
there?
sheriff's purview. That's the thing. It's the sheriff. He's the elected official. It falls on his shoulders. He's supposed to be asking.
So
I've been putting
basically-
pressure on him.
Somebody can do what he's doing, break many zoning laws,
Well, again, it
And-
comes down to the sheriff. They need
and
to
he
act.
can, the point is, he can break any laws he wants to break that we have in this township. And just get away with it because he threatens everybody and they're afraid to go get him out of there. Really? He's a felon now with a gun charge.
Sheriff
He's a
Poland.
felony
Sheriff-
with a gun charge.
Sheriff
His
Poland.
fiscal was took
Call his
away.
Office, please. He's the one you need to talk to.
Well, can't you
Sheriff.
guys do that? Isn't
No,
it your
that's not our
responsibility
job.
with a court order?
I don't know this guy.
Your town, this township went originally to the court.
You're the
They got
neighbor.
it.
You need to make the phone call. That's, I'm
They
telling
ain't
you.
gonna listen to me.
Well, they have to call them. You have to be that squeaky wheel.
Oh, yeah, I'm right here. I'm squeaking.
Well,
Where's
that's
my
the thing.
grease?
We're
Come
not
on,
the sheriff.
where's my calm?
None of us here are
Let's go.
law enforcement.
You know,
None of us are law
no,
enforcement.
I've been around and around with all kinds of things. Now, just a minute. I'm okay. Just a minute. Now, I just wanna know what your plans are. Are you ever gonna try to enforce this, or I'm just,
You want me to go out there?
Falling on deaf ears.
I'm not law enforcement. There's nothing I can do.
Right.
There's
I
nothing
can't
none of us can
either.
do.
If I could do a citizen
Occasional,
arrest and get him off of it, I probably would.
Jason.
Okay, I cannot.
Let me just explain.
It's up to,
Just a minute. He's bringing his horses down the road to feed them. He ain't got the money to feed his horses. We tried to bring hay and give it to him. He wouldn't accept it. He thought we poisoned him.
he implies that
You guys can get him on the side of the road without a problem.
Poland, we can't.
We don't have a police force.
We are not the.
You are the people that let him be there. You had him out and you let him be there. Yes, you guys did. I was in the meetings.
the previous supervisor, not that I'm a fan. The previous supervisor got this all ball rolling before and had a court order to get him out. And then you all took over and you kumbaya'd it.
Yep.
You want to give him a chance. Well, the chance is up. He's been out there since 2018.
2018.
2018. We're going on like 5 years. 5 years. Everybody, 5 years.
5 years. everybody.
Now, if I wanted to do this, I have a 1 acre lot, okay, that I could go squat my ass on. Or tell somebody I know, go squat on my property. Who cares? Do what you want. You don't have to pay the taxes like everyone else pays for their homes, their residential homes.
That's
They
it,
can't do
1,000
what they
square
want
feet.
in their residential home because of zoning laws. They're there for a reason. They're to keep it to a decent standard. Whatever you see fit. Okay, when you move in, you know what your zoning laws are. And if you don't, well, you will learn if you do something wrong. Your neighbor or somebody will squeal and they don't like it. Okay? I mean, come on. How far is this gonna go? I'm not nobody. I'm a taxpayer, been out, I own this property for 35 years. I've never gotten one thing. Not one thing. I don't get mail service at my house. I don't get busing for my grandchild when they live with me at my fucking place. I'm sorry, at my place. No busing, no road maintenance, nothing. 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 We paid for every power pole for half a mile? 1 mile.
Mile.
No,
And every
1
rock on
mile.
the road too.
We paid for every power pole going back there. Fine, I want a power, okay? I wanted a road, but I can't pay for all that road. We improved it over the years. And, it's a road right away, undeveloped road right away, unmaintained. And you have to let people travel down it.
Yeah.
If they tear it up, they do whatever, you nothing you can do about it. Okay, nothing you can do about it. And then his horses get out, they come in my yard. They eat my grass. They defecate all over my yard. Of course, the horse, the horse. And then he's feeding his horses now on the side of the road because he doesn't have no food for him. So like he said, he went and bought hay. He refused to take it. Okay, got a nasty note, which I posted, which you can see it on Concerned Citizens of Dalton Township. Because I had asked for donation for his horses to help him, the horses up, not him. the
Yeah, it's
horses.
it's a
You know
rough
what?
situation.
I had to put it up there and tell him, don't bother,
We all,
because he don't want no
we
help.
all agree.
So my bad on that.
So,
My bad.
I appreciate the complaints. You know, I mean, hope you were able to, you feel like you were able to express your
Well,
complaint.
now we have one more guy coming out there and he's fighting about the road and he ain't talked to you people yet. He ain't talked to the town or the road commission yet.
He's
Yet
calling the
thinks
police.
he's brought building materials out there. You guys opened up a can of worms that can't be closed.
Yeah,
Can't
no,
get
this
back in
guy,
again.
this guy talks to Hobby. It sounds just like Hobby.
Yes.
And so, you know, he's telling them things that you cannot do, but go ahead and do it. You can do it. You can do it. And this guy thinks that my husband has to develop the road
Yeah.
and they have to maintain it for him. And he
Yeah.
called the police about it. How many times?
4 times
4
now.
times now.
4 times.
Okay, now I gotta fight with him about where my property line is, where the road is, where you have to, where Hobby is supposed to develop that road, he can get a building permit. He never did that. It ain't up to, he can't do it. The bond is took back from the county road commission. He has no bond no more, and he has no permission, no permit to work on that road now,
Yeah.
okay? And it's still back there with his 3 horses they can't take care of.
It is. That whole
And
section of
live
road is a great
In a
example
shed.
of the phrase life is suffering. And that is certainly true.
And the whole, I don't care how you live, okay? But don't come into R1, low residential, and squat and defecate all over your property, which, hey, you can do that, I suppose. The health department's afraid of them too, they won't go out there either.
I think we
No,
got,
do
I think we
nothing.
got the complaint. If you guys want to come back and, you know, complain again next meeting,
Well, I can complain, but you know what,
we'll
I've been
move on
complaining,
to something
and
else.
I don't get nothing.
To be honest.
So I
Here.
gotta get a hold of Poland. Now, see, once again, everybody, I'm doing everyone else's job.
Yes.
I'm nobody, like I said,
Okay.
I have no authority.
Thank you for your time,
I'm
folks.
gonna get a runaround
We're
from
out of
him
here.
too. Okay,
You are.
thank you for
And
your
then when you
time.
contact the state police, which he'll tell you to
And
do,
they won't do
They
nothing.
won't do
either.
See, that's what he told me in my will. He come out there and threatened to give me a $280 fine because he thinks I impeded the road. I'm only giving up my 10 feet. That's all I gotta give.
That's on
The
paper.
23 feet more is for the road
That's
commission.
right.
If they maintain the road, and you can pave that road, they will not maintain it. They are not accepting no more roads.
correct. Yep.
So,
Yeah,
we're there. Now, to solve the problem would be
yeah.
for this township to maintain and build that road, and then people can come in and build.
Yeah, and you get tax revenue.
You'll get more. I know you don't get all of it. The schools get a lot of it.
Yeah, but,
But I'm just saying,
you know,
this will solve a lot of problems.
We
I
got
paid
it.
taxes for many years.
It's a
I know
mess.
it all goes to
It
school.
will continue to be a mess.
But
It's gonna be, but
Who would want this job next? There's a bunch of issues like this all over the township.
And this is one that never got resolved and no one, everyone's
you guys
afraid to
worry about
do it.
living a road thing.
Everyone's afraid to do it. Yeah.
33 years.
Yeah.
Ain't that some fun?
They want to express the complaint. Cut them off doesn't do anything. I've talked to them for hours and hours, right? And so we have all sorts of stuff like this. Neighbors that want to kill each other all over the place,
Unless you're not running again.
right? I'm not running again for sure. And so, but what it ends up being is I tried to make peace between various neighbors, failed in every single attempt. And blessed are the peacemakers. They don't seem to exist because I don't think that's a possible thing. So external peace is largely an illusion, but I think internal peace might be possible. But Kim.
It is. Vouch for that. Mr. Supervisor, how much time do I have?
You want time?
As much as you want.
I'll try to respect your rules. Stay within the time. Kim Sear, I'm a county commissioner for this area for Dalton Township, all of Dalton Township now. I used to have part of it. Now I've got all of it. Just a couple of things. We've got a new county clerk. Her name is Karen Bowie. Clerk Waters has retired, so she's out of there. And there's also a new deputy clerk, Iva Wittenberg, or Wiltenberg, I should say. I didn't do that one very well. So we've got 2 new people in the clerk's office. The other thing that's been going on that I have noticed on the county board is the fact that we are seeing more and more resolutions from different counties. The latest one's from Osceola County. And this resolution is the resolution to instruct our representatives to oppose all firearms control legislation. And it goes into the fact that the United States Constitution and also the Constitution of Michigan states that the people have the right to keep and bear arms, basically, is what that Second Amendment. And there are quite a few resolutions coming from counties that say that they will not abide by any laws that come from the federal government or the state or government that violate the Second Amendment. So just thought I'd share that.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Get it time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time, nice professional. Good, anything else on anything else?
Yeah, I'll go again. Mark Pilot, Central Road. Really not about me, it's about my neighbors. We got a drain problem across the street. I know from living there that the ditch that comes from the highway, that used to be a drain field there, comes from the highway, it hasn't been dug out like 30 years. Trees have been sprayed around. I don't know if that's what's causing it, but I would like to see if you guys could possibly rattle the drain commission to go check that out. Because there's Ed's not the only one. Ann gets wet. And so does Jim. And like I say, I know that ditch when I moved in, it was deep and big, and now it's shallow and.
Yeah.
That might stir
Trees that big
another
around going
offense,
out.
you know.
Well, so, yeah, it depends on how that
Drain
goes.
commissioner, she was supposed,
That
but
old-
I remember, was it 2 years ago, Jeff, the new drain commissioner came into power? She made a promise a couple of years ago that she was gonna go through and clean up all the drains. I don't think she got all of them yet. I don't know where they stand on that. That was a couple of years ago.
She's done a bunch of massive
She's
projects,
done a lot of them. I don't know if she.
so the ride drain being a big one. But, what?
Our drains don't go to anywhere.
I don't even have a culvert on it. I mean, they go from one area of water to another.
It goes.
But,
You go somewhere.
To another driveway and stop at another driveway. And then down further, you got two brand new culverts in going to the highway. Where they didn't clean out the one which you're speaking about on the north of my property on the neighbor's land.
Life is
Which,
tough,
when it
yeah.
rains really heavy,
Yeah.
it actually runs off the highway and runs across my yard and floods me out.
It's lakefront property.
No,
Or life is unsatisfactory. But, so I'll inquire with the road project and see if she's coordinating with it. If not, then she'll probably want a petition and then she'll do a multi-million-dollar project and charge you guys for it, and that'll be your thing.
Open.
So,
Real quick,
that's what you guys already did. It's
We-
a matter of fixing what was already done.
it's a
Not a
big,
new
it's a big
project.
part, right? So this meeting is a great example of like
That's right.
essentially talking pointlessly, right? Because you're not talking to the people that can do anything about it. And so that's like the Covingtons. They know. I mean, maybe they don't know.
Well, pass the buck, then pass out some names. Who do we talk to?
They're opponents.
Drain commissioner.
The drain would be the drain commissioner,
Brenda Moore.
now called the water resources
Brenda Moore.
commissioner.
I mean, you know.
And so, yeah, the police thing, like, I mean, if someone,
County Commissioner.
Drain commissioner, you gotta call the drain.
drain commissioner is separately elected.
What's going on about that?
I was just hoping you had more pull than us, that's
You
what
can
I'm
tell
saying.
Sue to go kick sand. We got no.
I didn't vote for
Right. But
It's time to fix what was started and to get it cleaned up.
I don't know where they are, like I said. She
so
started.
the whole Dalton Township is an interesting illusion.
Yes, I'd like to speak. Not about any of that. We had an election last week and we had a whopping 13% turnout.
Oh my God.
And where
That's sad. We had 16 people show up at the fire department in person.
I like it.
16. So I made ideas on how to get more people out and voting.
What are we voting?
Oh, it was the school We'll have another election in August. August.
You know it's-
The August election is over the fire village, so turn out for that one. That would be good. All right, so anything else on public comment, Rachel?
Library, good news, your tax dollars will work for you. Just want to let you know, this Friday, we're having a program, we're gonna come in and make a little succulent for your mom for Mother's Day, put it in a nice little pot and soil, we provide everything. So sign up online for that. Next Wednesday, if you have a new phone, new computer, or just having trouble with the one that you have, want to throw it against the wall, don't do that. Come to our tech talk next Wednesday at 4:00, and we'll help you out with that. next Saturday. If you have some old puzzles, jigsaw puzzles that you want to exchange, we're gonna have a chance for that. Bring yours in and pick up another one. Totally free.
You're saying next Wednesday, next Saturday. What's the dates on them?
Oh, next Wednesday is the 16th.
17th?
17th. I don't know what my glasses are. 16th.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
Rachel, you're killing us.
All right, there we go. You got that. Something like that. And the puzzle exchange is on the 20th. And then on the end of the month, on the 31st, Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, we're gonna have Amber Dowdy, who used to work for the Silversides Museum, and now she has an independent program where she teaches. And she's gonna come out and do a presentation on the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And with the recent passing of Gordon Lightfoot, as everybody knows his song, we had several seats taken, so we have 15 left. If anybody wants to go online and sign up for that, it's all free. Come see her presentation and maybe learn something about the Edmund Fitzgerald that you didn't know. Okay? Thank
Are
you.
you having dogs tomorrow?
Oh, Bow Wow readers for kids. Yes, we do have that. Yes, how'd you know?
I saw it on the
Good job. Down at 10th on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We do, yes, thank you. We want your kids, if they are hesitant readers and need some support with that. We do have a Bow Wow reader. We have Baron, who is a retired canine officer dog, who you can come and read to very non-judgmentally. And yeah, Baron loves it and loves the extra treats, and the kids enjoy sitting there and doing that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Rachel. Go try it.
I don't have much to say. Start the timer.
Yeah. Well, good evening, Christina Achterhoff, and I'm the district rep for Senator John Bumstead. And just reporting on the state, there's really not much to report. It's budget time. So they are heavily working on that because they're looking to get things done by June. So this is the next month, it's May, so that's what's pretty much going on in Lansing. And I do know that the second round of the Spark grant is taking place. So if you haven't applied,
We have one in
reapply.
for a park.
Okay, terrific. So that's coming up at the end of June, I believe. So, and if any of you as residents have any questions with the state or your concerns, feel free to reach out to Senator Bumstead and Lansing. We have wonderful staff that can assist you and or guide you if you have any kind of questions with if there's unemployment issues or there's different issues with taxes or anything. Just reach out to us, and I have business cards if you'd like to call us. We'd be happy to assist you or guide you or if there's anything we can do. So, and that goes up here as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on anything else? Anything from the board?
Tracy?
That might be.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'll say first, I appreciate everyone's patience and all that stuff. You know, my philosophy on public comment was to allow people to make their complaints so that they'd be relieved a little bit. I don't know that it makes a difference. The next supervisor, if they eliminated the second public comment completely, that would not surprise me and that would not be unreasonable because it doesn't particularly seem to help anything. So, but nevertheless, I'm operating off my old philosophy just based on momentum. So, all right, good. Now, motion to adjourn. Do we have a support?
Second.
Support. Any discussion among the board? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.